All right, so hopefully you have went and reviewed the text structure anchor chart there so that you know what you are looking for with your constructor response. Your constructor response prompt for today is, how is the last section of the text, which is paragraph 7 through 10, organized? How does this text structure help you to understand the information? So once again, your constructor response prompt for today, how is the last section of text, paragraph 7 through 10, organized? How does this text structure help you to understand the information? And of course, we understand from last week that our text structures are compare and contrast, when we show similarities and differences between two or more people, events, or topics. Cause and effect is one event or action happens because of another. Chronological order, we're talking about the order of events. With the problem solution text structure, a problem is presented followed by one or more solutions. Topical is the text structure where it is organized by subject or idea and it puts all the information about one topic together. Okay, and of course, we understand that text structure is the way the author organizes the information in the text as a whole or in part of the text. Okay, so here we are. We're reading mostly only white men could vote before 1870. Before we begin that, review the PowerPoint I put up there that has the vocabulary terms on there: Protestant, capable, property, requirement, and amendment. Go ahead and look at the PowerPoint with those on there if you need to. In the United States, how old do you have to be in order to vote? For those of you that said 18, you are absolutely correct. But did you know that that wasn't always the case? So, a long time ago, when the United States was first created, there were different voting rights. This means that there were different rules about who could and who could not vote. And we understand that that has evolved over time. So, today, what we're going to learn is about how those voting rights have changed over time. As we read, we are going to identify the structure of the text in order to better understand how different concepts and ideas relate to each other. So here we are. Mostly only white men could vote before 1870 by Judith Schiffer. Native Americans had lived on the land that became the United States for centuries before Europeans arrived. Starting in 1607, people from many parts of Europe went across the ocean to settle there. These European immigrant groups lived in separate colonies, which were communities with their own religions, laws, and practices. The English had the largest group of settlers. They controlled 13 colonies that stretched along the Atlantic coast, and they put English laws and practices into effect in the New World. One of these practices was to decide whom to give suffrage, which means the right to vote. Mainly Protestant white men who owned a certain amount of property, usually land, were given the right to vote. In most colonies, Jews and Catholics were not allowed to vote, whether or not they owned property. So if I stop right here and I think about the text structure in these first two paragraphs, I realize that since I have not read the entire passage, I can't yet talk about the text structure of the whole thing. But I can try to see what information I learned in these two paragraphs right here and determine what text structure I can identify thus far. So what I do is I ask myself, what did I learn here? And then I ask myself, how does the author organize the information here? So if I think and I go back up and I reference the paragraphs as needed, I learned that Native Americans were the first people to live on the land that we now call America. There's a key word right there. Then starting in 1607, so then is another key word to let me know what type of structure I might be seeing. Also, there's a date given, so that also might let me know something. So I'm starting to think that this might possibly have a chronological text structure, but let me continue. Then, starting in 1607, people from Europe started to come to America and form the 13 colonies. Next, the colonists made laws and decided who could vote. They decided that mainly Protestant white men who owned land were allowed to vote, while others, like Jews and Catholics, could not. Since I'm learning about what happened in the order that it occurred, first this happened, then this happened, after that, this happened. I can tell now that this section is organized in chronological order. So now I'm asking, how does the organization of this text help me to understand it? It helps me understand how voting rights were first established and how, from very early on, voting rights were restricted only to a select group of people, Protestant white men who owned land.